Hi adorable friends, welcome back to my channel. This time I'm going to show you my completed April 2023 bullet journal. So they're all filled in and let's see how it looked like. First of all, this is the color box for the month. So this is the theme of the month, which are these mice having a little bit of shenanigans, sewing and embroidering. And here's the color palette, and I was using all Tombow markers for this month. So let's see what the spread looks like. The first spread is the monthly reflection page and the cover page. So this is just a little bit of a scene of the mice playing around with sewing stuff. I really like this mannequin with little dress, and this mouse is probably my favorite. He looks really silly with the thimble on his head. So as usual, my cover page is a little bit of a scene, and then the calendar underneath with the name of the month on top. And this is the monthly reflection page, and this is probably one of my favorites, at least so far this year. I really like that there's this cute mouse over here trying to embroider, and then it kind of like follows through with the thread that becomes the frame of the page, and then I kind of sprinkle around these buttons so that it looks like the thread goes through the buttons, and I think it looks really cute framing the entire monthly reflection page that way. Yeah, and it's a nice size to write down my summary of the month. So the next one is the calendar page, and the idea of this page that it's a quilt. So each of these piece of quote-unquote fabric basically is the slot for the day, and I alternate the color based on the color combinations that I have, and there's a little bit of details and patterns for some of them. Those that are lighter in colors, I have some pattern and details on top, and then there's also a little bit of sewing in some of these squares so that it looks like it's a little bit like a quilt with these border at the end, kind of like the edge of the quilt. And of course I need to have the cute mice on this page as well. With these mice particularly are sewing this dress that, if you look really closely, the pattern really resembles the pattern of the quilt, so as if that it can also be turned into a dress. And I kind of really like how it actually turned out pretty well, even though it's quite tiny, the differences between the squares, but I think it turned out well. And I filled it in as usual, only with a little bit of a difference with some of the darker colors. I'm using the white gel pen rather than the black friction pen that I usually use, so it looks a little bit more also varied that way, and I really like how this turned out as well. Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite spreads throughout this year so far. It looks very colorful, even though the colors are actually quite subdued this time around. I deliberately chose a more kind of like cozy colors for this month. And this is the next one. This is also, I really like the way this turned out. The idea is that for each of these as again a little piece of fabric, and sometimes you could think like there are some samples of fabric that you can usually buy, and it's usually like this kind of shape or sometimes just a square, and that's my idea for this particular page. I still want to make it very colorful, and that's why I colored in the entire square. And this is something that I am doing a little bit more often lately, and I kind of like how it turned out. I was a little bit hesitant before, and what I meant is that I'm referring to how the slot for the days are actually in the middle of the page, so it's in between, it's kind of like crossing this middle point of the page. Before I was a little bit too reluctant because I feel like it might not be so nice or it doesn't look so good, but I got used to it, and I think it turned out pretty well. So I'm doing this more often with having something that is crossing the page like this. And yes, it looks very colorful with the middle part, and on top of that we have all of these buttons sewn all around with the two cute mice on the side. And I really like how these buttons looks like this, because my idea was just to have a page where there are buttons around, and I think it looks kind of cute, and it makes a little bit of a path. That's the idea. I don't want it to be like completely covered. I still want this negative white space because I think it breathes the decorations. So I love how it looks. And I'm using also more and more often this kind of like spread out calendar, because I found that it actually takes less space than if you make a small calendar like that, because it takes like a little bit more space if you do it that way, instead of if you're doing it this way, then you have the rest of the page to do for your day slots and everything else that you need. So yeah, I'm using also this type of calendar more and more often. So that's the first weekly. The second weekly, the idea is that each of these are spool of threads, and the threads are basically just kind of like I use my Tombow to make them. I think it comes across like that, and each of these spool of thread is of course the slot of the day. And because the colors are quite subdued that way, it's possible to kind of write on top of them for my summary of the day. So I think it worked out pretty well. And for this page, because the idea is this spool of thread, that bit of wool, I would imagine, then that's why the decorations are mice who are playing with embroidery over here. So this is the starting of the embroidery, and this is when it's done, that the little mouse embroidered this blue flower onto the ring. So that's the second weekly. The third weekly, it seems like I really like a lot of the spread for this month, which really surprised me because I deliberately chose more subdued, more calm colors, because those are not the type of colors I usually go to. I like brighter colors more because that's more of my aesthetic, but I decided that I kind of want to have a bit of a change and try it out. So I chose more somber color this time around, and I turned out to really like it. So I might do it again with different color combination in the future. And this is definitely one of the calmest, one of the softest spread that I have in my bullet journal. Pretty much, if you look at it, the color are shade of brown and shades of blue, because even the gray, there's a little bit of blue undertone to it, so it is in a way kind of like blue hues. And I love the combination between just brown and blue. I've never thought that would turn out to be so well, but when they're both on a softer side, it creates something very cozy. It's still warm, but also at the same time it's kind of like soft that way. So for each of the slot, as you can see, I'm using a die from Lawn Fawn. And when you use the die, it cut out this ring that looks like an embroidery ring with a little bit of this kind of like nail, I guess, like at the top of a screw at the top to keep them together. So, and it worked really well because the size is good enough to write down your summary of the day, and that's what I did. And absolutely love this spread. But of course, the mice again who's embroidering on each of the side with the finished embroidery on this side. And last but not least, this is week 4, and this one is slightly different than the other ones. And I have this idea in my head that I want to make the slot of the day in a dress pattern, and that's what I did. So I just look up online different kind of shape of dress pattern, and these are the ones that I chose. And it's actually pretty big enough to be able to write down the summary of the day. And I just put the name of the day and the date on the side because it kind of looked like a little seam. At least that's how I think about it in my head. And I just outlined it with different colors to keep those more colorful idea, because that's basically the entire spreads for this month are quite colorful. This one is the one of the not so colorful, I guess this is the least colorful, the one, the week 3, that has more like a softer feel. This one, it has all of the color combo for this month, so it's still very colorful, but also have those white negative space to write down the summary of the month. And of course for this one, this is not an embroidery, but actually making the dress, because it connects with the shape of the day slot for this particular week. Yeah, so that's basically the spread for April 2023, that is filled in with the summary of the days, and everything else that I use my bullet journal for. I really love the theme for this month, and also each of the spread is really connected to the theme. So I feel this is definitely one of the more thematic one that I did this year, and very much looking forward to the other themes this year, and I hope you're looking forward to it as well. I can't wait to also share May with you very soon, and I hope to see you again in my channel. Really thank you if you've been following so far, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, and if you like the video, please give it a like too. So until next time, I really hope you're having a great day. Bye.